I prepared all the food by myself tonight. My daughter-in-law didn't do anything. She's completely useless, such a failure. Why did my son marry such a failure like her? As I was choked by those harsh words from my mother-in-law, the whole extended family burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, what are you saying? My mother-in-law was dumbfounded. In reality, there was a reason why everyone was laughing. The only one who didn't know was my mother-in-law. My name is Ariel. I'm 31 years old and married. I got married when I was 27, and soon after, I became pregnant. I have a 4-year-old daughter who goes to kindergarten. I live with my husband, who is 1 year older, and our daughter. Mom, tonight's dinner is really delicious. My daughter, Winter, said with a smile as she ate dinner. It is? I'm glad. I replied with a smile. Cooking is my hobby, and whenever I have spare time, I prepare ingredients and check out new recipes. Recently, I've started working part-time as a housekeeper, using this skill. With my daughter in kindergarten, I can work during the day, and my life has become more fulfilling lately. Working not only helps with our finances, but also gives me a sense of connection to society through my unique talent, which makes me happy. I need to come up with some new recipes for my next housekeeping job. Thinking that, I took out my phone. Then, the text notification caught my eye. You have 25 new messages. I had a bad feeling. As expected, the flood of messages was from my mother-in-law. Since I have my notification sounds turned off, I only read the messages when I turn on the screen. My parents-in-law live in the neighboring province, a 1.5-hour drive away. I wanted to maintain a reasonable distance from my in-laws, and my husband understood that, but stop saying that you are too busy with your part-time job, and start helping us out a bit here. You're living off Tucker's income, so you can't use your part-time job as an excuse. When are you planning to come over and help with our housework? Winter is already in kindergarten, right? What are you doing at home with all that free time? Winter is quite the talker, just like you. I hope you will have a boy next time. The texts were all messages that would make me depressed, as I read. Why would she send messages that are clearly meant to make someone uncomfortable? I let out a sigh and slumped onto the couch. Mom, are you okay? My daughter asked, looking concerned. Just then, my husband, Tucker, came home. I'm back. I got a bunch of complaining messages from my mom, and it's getting to me. Did she send any to you? He asked, but seeing my exhausted expression, he quickly understood. She did, didn't she? Mom has some intense mood swings. Don't let it bother you too much. Yeah. She keeps telling me to come help at her place, but it's not that close, and I have my part-time job. It's a bit difficult. You don't have to go, and I'll tell her that too. I thought, if our homes were closer, it would have been even more challenging. I haven't told my mother-in-law about working as a housekeeper. I've only mentioned having a part-time job. I can imagine what kind of response I'd get if I told her. Plus, there's something else bothering me. My mother-in-law doesn't really show her affection to my daughter. It seems she wanted a boy, and she didn't give us any gifts when Winter was born or when she started kindergarten. Yet, she's trying to make me do the housework for her. Honestly, even though she's my husband's mother, I don't really want to help. Yeah, you're right. We have our own lives to tend to. Give me a sec, I'll warm up your dinner. I said, feeling better after my husband came home, and I eagerly stepped into the kitchen, trying to push the email I'd seen earlier out of my mind. Then, one day, my husband hesitantly talked to me. Ariel, you might not be too thrilled about it, but I received an email from my mom about the annual July long weekend gathering, and she suggested having it at her house this year. Oh, is that so? Maybe they couldn't get a reservation at the restaurant in a hotel we usually use. Okay, I understand. To be honest, I prefer meeting my mean mother-in-law outside the house. She is a show-off, so she likes to play the role of a caring mother-in-law in front of others. However, if we are going to have a family get-together at her house, I was somewhat anxious. And then came the day of the July long weekend get-together. Good morning, April. Winter, say hi to your grandma properly. Just come in already. When we arrived at my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law spoke brusquely, not even sparing a glance for her granddaughter. Oh, today, you and I will take care of the meal preparations, so do it well, all right? My mother-in-law said, with a malicious smile. Oh, is that so? I see. April, I'll help too, said my brother-in-law's wife, but my mother-in-law replied, you're fine, you can just play with Caden. My mother-in-law adored her grandson Caden. Winter, go play with Caden. Yeah, Caden, let's play with Grandpa. Hi, Winter. Nice to see you. My father-in-law lifted our daughter happily. He cherished his granddaughter, Winter, a lot. I felt relieved, watching my daughter having fun. Then, my mother-in-law and I went into the kitchen. Please, make sure that nobody else comes into the kitchen. My mother-in-law emphasized this to the whole family. I wonder why she's so insistent. I found it suspicious, but I decided to focus on the food in front of me. I have some skills when it comes to cooking. I've been well received at my workplace, and I've been getting more and more businesses. I murmured that to myself, to energize myself. My mother-in-law watched me as I started the preparations. She was just watching, and there was no sign of her lifting a finger. Oh dear, that won't do. Don't you even know how to use a knife? You're so slow. Young people these days. Do you only eat ready-to-eat meals all the time? It's a convenient era, but that's no good. Oh my, you don't even know the basics of seasoning? I feel sorry for Tucker. I wonder what he's being forced to eat. My mother-in-law kept commenting, but she didn't lift a finger. I thought to myself, this is uncomfortable. But I replied with a yes, yes, and worked swiftly. I knew my mother-in-law was a difficult person. If I were to upset her here, I don't know how it would affect my daughter and husband. So, for the sake of my daughter and husband, I endured. My mother-in-law kept complaining, but when she tasted the finished dishes, she nodded in satisfaction. Good, I guess she liked it. I heaved a sigh of relief. Dinner is ready. Sorry for the wait. My mother-in-law beamed with a smile and called out to the whole family. I cooked for about 10 relatives, almost single-handedly, and served the dishes all by myself, and to be honest, I was completely exhausted. This was for my own improvement. I encouraged myself silently. Wow, the presentation is amazing. It looks like a fancy restaurant. Can I take a picture? Yeah, it's rich and delicious. This could easily be served in a restaurant. This is delicious, and it's a feast. Mom, I want to eat this at home too. I was delighted that they appreciated the meal I made. I thought I might be able to take on large group meal jobs like this in the future. Oh, this is delicious. There are so many things here that go well with my favorite drinks. I was about to say, yes, I heard that you like drinking, and you prefer these kind of dishes over a regular dinner. But my mother-in-law cut in loudly. I'm glad that you like it. My hard work paid off. Wait, she was just watching and complaining. I was internally surprised. Didn't you make it with Ariel? My father-in-law asked with a puzzled expression. Oh, Ariel did nothing at all. She just watched and served after it was made. My mother-in-law said brazenly, and even went on to say this. Seriously, she's a worthless, incompetent daughter-in-law who can't do anything. I don't know why Tucker married such a failure. That's just too much. I knew my mother-in-law could be mean and had a sharp tongue, but to make someone do all the cooking and then say things like this. As I was pursing my lips in anger, a burst of laughter rang out. Ha ha ha, what are you talking about? My husband, his brother, sister-in-law, and even his uncle were all laughing hard. Did everyone hear that just now? My husband asked while laughing as he looked around at the relatives. My mother-in-law and father-in-law had a puzzled look on their faces. Mom, stop joking around. Everyone knows this wasn't made by you, my husband said, wiping tears from his eyes because he was laughing his head off. What are you talking about? I made all of this by myself, my mother-in-law shouted. That can't be true. Mom, you might not have realized it, but your cooking isn't the greatest. You always make the same menu. There's no way you suddenly became this good at cooking, my husband pointed out. Yeah, I've had meals made by you too, and they lacked flavor. I've actually had Ariel make food before, and the quality was just as high as today's meal. It's definitely Ariel's cooking today, added my father-in-law's brother. Yeah, Mom's cooking is always dry and bland. I was disappointed when I heard we'd be eating here today, but I ended up having amazing food. Thanks, Ariel, chimed in my brother-in-law. Losing face among the relatives, as they criticized her cooking, my mother-in-law redirected her anger towards me. Hey, Ariel! You never come here to cook for us, yet you went to my brother-in-law's place to cook? What's up with that? My mother-in-law said, glaring at me, as if she was accusing me. I visited my uncle-in-law's place as part of my housekeeping job. Their house is within the service area, I replied truthfully. If you're willing to pay the regular fee, I'm more than happy to provide my services here as well. I was holding the grudge because she called me a failure earlier, and I said so, though I felt a little bit bad. What? Paying a fee? You shouldn't say things like that when you are a daughter-in-law. Rather than going to other people's houses to do housework, a daughter-in-law should be doing household chores at her in-law's place and being useful. Charging me for it is absolutely unacceptable, my mother-in-law snapped. I had a feeling that she'd react like this if she found out that I had a housekeeping business. And it seemed my predictions were correct. As she was yelling at me about something old-fashioned like this, my husband sided with me. Because Ariel is earning money with the housekeeping service, we've been able to send money to you, Mom. That's right, I had been transferring half of my part-time salary to my mother-in-law's account. Huh? What do you mean by sending money to her? I have no idea about that. What? Dad, you don't know? Mom came to me crying and said that your salary was reduced and you couldn't pay the loan for the bathroom renovation. Ariel offered to help. Huh? What's the heck? My salary hasn't been reduced, and I haven't taken any loans for renovation. What on earth did she use the money for? My mother-in-law turned pale as she was confronted by my father-in-law. With her head bowed, my mother-in-law didn't answer, and my father-in-law continued, You asked me about stocks before, right? Did you use the money for that? My mother-in-law flinched, and then she started to speak hesitantly. Actually, I tried to invest on the stocks, but it didn't go well. I incurred substantial losses, so I asked Tucker and Ariel for financial support to cover it. What? You did that without saying a word to me, my father-in-law shouted. Mom, you've been lying to us. You didn't even try to get a job, and you just made us pay for it? You called Ariel a failure, even though she was using her part-time pay to support you. What were you thinking? My husband shouted, unable to contain his anger. Tucker, I'm so sorry. My mother-in-law apologized in a weak voice. Shouldn't you be apologizing to someone else? We're leaving, Ariel, Winter. My husband said angrily, and left the family home, taking our daughter and me with him. On the way back home, my husband said to me while driving, Ariel, I'm really sorry for what happened with my mom. You don't have to send her money anymore. Seeing my husband's apologetic expression, with furrowed eyebrows, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Yeah, I won't send her anymore. My mother-in-law's words had hurt me deeply, but thanks to my husband, the damage I had suffered was cut in half. A few days later, my father-in-law also called to apologize. Ariel, I'm truly sorry for the other day. It turns out that she was scammed by a younger man she met on a dating app and lost a significant amount of money. She tried to cover those losses with stocks and failed. She didn't want me to find out, and she didn't want to work, so she lied to Tucker and made him send her money. What? A dating app? It wasn't just stock losses, and it was even worse than that. I was utterly shocked. However, what I heard next was even more unbelievable. I had also prepared congratulatory money for Winter and asked her to pass it on. But it seems she had already spent that money too. I'm truly sorry. Oh. Is that so? I just thought you guys didn't love Winter so much. I didn't care too much about who gave the money to who and who didn't, but I was more shocked by the fact that she has been using the money intended for her granddaughter, for herself. I've also been thoroughly disgusted by all this. I rarely eat at home and just drink and have snacks, so I didn't really mind how terrible her cooking was, but what she said to you, Ariel, was completely out of line. My father-in-law cleared his throat and continued. I'm considering divorcing her. After she gets kicked out of the house, she might go to your house thinking that you guys will help, so be careful. Following the advice from my father-in-law on the phone, we quickly made arrangements for moving. In fact, we'd been actually talking about moving for a while, and we already had our eyes on this particular house, so all that was left was to sign the contract. We need to get away from my mom. My husband's face was deadly serious. He seemed quite appalled by the fact that his mother has been using the congratulatory money for Mia, for herself. I need to protect my family. It appeared that my husband had made a decision. We quickly finished the moving procedures, and 2 weeks later, our family was able to move. A few days later, my mother-in-law called my husband. Hey, Tucker. I'm at your house right now, but when I rang the bell, someone else answered. What's going on? If you moved, you should have at least informed me. We're family. From my husband's phone, I could hear my mother-in-law's angry voice. The people from the management company must be coming and going at our old apartment right now. My husband replied calmly. Yeah, we moved. I didn't inform you, because I don't have any intention of seeing you again. I don't want someone like you, who tries to deceive us for money, anywhere near my family. My husband firmly declared, and hung up the phone. Tucker, are you okay? I asked him with concern, as he slumped onto the couch after hanging up the phone. Regardless of how terrible she is still his mother, and he appeared to be feeling down. Dad, are you okay? Our daughter was also worried and looked at his face. Yeah. I'm fine. Winter, come here, my husband said, picking up our daughter. Now that we don't have to send her money anymore, we can start saving money for Winter. I'm thinking of opening a bank account in Winter's name. I spoke to my husband, in a voice as cheerful as possible. I still can't forget the words my mother-in-law had said. Failure, incompetent, worthless daughter-in-law. These malicious words come back to me at unexpected moments, and each time they pierce my heart. But it's all right. My husband understands my feelings, and above all, I have something to protect. All right, let's think of new recipes for tomorrow's work. I got up and headed to the kitchen,